My name is Ismael Torres. I grew up in Las Cruces, New Mexico, and I work as an economist for the New Mexico legislature here in Santa Fe. As an economist for the legislature, I produce revenue forecasts so that they know how much that they can budget and appropriate for government functions year round. I do that. I also do analysis on proposed legislation. So if there's a bill that comes up, we may be asked to give input on how it might affect the economy or how much it might cost the government. The job is definitely complex. Of course, we do our best to take data from all sorts of sources. We use data from the national government, we use tax data from the state government, and of course, everything in between. And then you have to know what you're doing to the data. So, of course, you collect the data, you put it into a software to make it workable, and then you have to know the strategies to employ in order to make it meaningful. So that may look like using statistics to predict something in the future, or it could mean just making effective graphs and charts and materials that can communicate your point effectively. So of course there's the math, there's the software, but I would say another really important skill that I use every day is effective communication skills. So that's speaking, writing, data presentation, graphs, charts, things like that. That's all incredibly important because the knowledge is useless if you're not able to convey it. And so an effective presenter is obviously just as important as an effective data analyst. I think I've always had a little bit of a nerdy side. I've always had an interest in sort of science in general. And as I grew up, I thought that might translate into being a doctor or, an astrophysicist or something, really out there and exciting to me. I was really interested in sci-fi. So, that kind of science of the future really excited me. And then I found as I got older and I got more involved in sort of the science side of things, I found that my social disposition was maybe a little too social for that sort of science route. I had actually just done a summer's worth of work in a laboratory studying E. coli. I was doing medical research on E. coli. And after a summer of filling test tubes and running experiments over and over again, oftentimes failing, sitting in a lab alone day in and day out, I decided I absolutely cannot spend my life doing this. And so once I decided I needed a much more social life, I went down the list. What are the social sciences that I could do? What are the ways I can apply my knowledge and expertise in a way that'll make me happy? And psychology and economics and anthropology, the list goes on. And I was interested in government, as I mentioned. I wanted to be able to see the impacts of my work pretty quickly, and I wanted to leave the world a better place. And I felt like all of those three things translated to a career in economics, where you can impact people's lives pretty profoundly, quickly, and with science. To be an economist, you don't need any specific certification. You will likely need a degree in higher education. So I got an undergraduate degree from New Mexico State University in economics. I also got a degree in government or political science, which can be helpful for an economist. But graduate degrees are also pretty necessary to be an economist. So I got really lucky that I found a job in state government that would help pay for my graduate education. And I was able to get a degree from Johns Hopkins University in economics. And that's obviously helped me get to where I am today. I know for a fact those things that I learned in Algebra 1, even the simple things like a linear equation, a quadratic equation, you think you never use them. And I still use them all the time. We use them in building a model to estimate, the future revenues or the future of a certain economy. We use that kind of material all the time. But we also use English. I remember, learning technical writing in English, maybe 10th grade. And I use those kinds of skills every single day when I'm writing up my report to give to members, or presentation skills. In our English classes, we'd learn how to give an effective presentation, and I use those skills every day as well. Obviously, I use a lot of calculus. I know maybe not every high schooler gets a chance to take calculus. I did take calculus, and I use that every day. When I think back, and I was first exploring a career in economics, I reached out to someone from my high school who was a few years older, who was doing the work. And I reached out to him, what's your day-to-day like? Can you talk to me? What kind of courses would I need to excel in this kind of career? And could you get me an internship? He helped me get get the experience I needed to build a successful career. And that never would have happened if you hadn't built those relationships with everyone. I mean, obviously, I didn't know when I met him that he was going to pursue a career that I might be interested in someday, but those relationships pay off in the future. So, of course, always treating people with respect. You never know when you might be able to help each other into the future. So the relationships are incredibly important. The writing and communication skills have been so helpful in my career. And of course the math, I wouldn't be able to do any of my work without my math skills. I think just like every other profession, the real world experience is oftentimes just as valuable, if not more valuable, than your academic background, your education, your time in school. And if I had never had the opportunity to work in that lab, I never would have found out that I didn't want to do that. If I never worked in that lab, I never would have discovered that economics was a passion of mine. And I got, I had a chance to intern at the Treasury Department, the U.S. Treasury Department in D.C., and that really showed me that this was something I was interested in. This is something that I would like to pursue. So getting those real world experiences, even if they're not directly related, are so extremely helpful for helping you concentrate or focus on what you are interested in, but even giving you those life experiences, the critical thinking that you might need in any job, and especially in economics.